In the long sweep of world history, very few individuals can be said to have truly altered the balance between civilizations. Sultan Mehmed II, remembered by history as Fatih Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, stands firmly among that rare company. He was not simply a victorious general or an ambitious monarch. Mehmed II was a ruler who consciously redefined what empire meant in the medieval world, blending military power, political legitimacy, law, culture, and ideology into a single, unified imperial vision. At just 21 years of age, Mehmed accomplished what countless rulers before him, Muslim and Christian alike, had failed to do for over 1,000 years. He captured Constantinople, the fortified capital of the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire. With the fall of that city in 1453, an entire world order collapsed. The Byzantine Empire, the last direct continuation of ancient Rome, ceased to exist. In its place rose a new imperial power, centered on Istanbul and ruled by the Ottomans. Yet Mehmed II was not content to be remembered only as the conqueror of a legendary city. Throughout his reign, he pursued a far broader ambition, to transform the Ottoman state from a frontier sultanate into a universal empire, one that claimed inheritance from both Islamic caliphates and the Roman Caesars. He was a soldier, a statesman, a lawgiver, a patron of learning, and a ruler deeply conscious of history and symbolism. This is the story of Mehmed II's life, his education, his wars, his reforms, and the imperial system he created, an empire that would dominate much of the known world for centuries. Mehmed II was born on the 30th of March, 1432 in Edirne, then the capital of the Ottoman state. He was the son of Sultan Murad II, an experienced and capable ruler, and Hüma Hatun, whose exact origins remain uncertain but who played an important role in Mehmed's early upbringing. From birth, Mehmed was marked as a prince destined for power, raised within the disciplined and hierarchical world of the Ottoman court. According to Ottoman tradition, princes were trained from a young age to rule. This training was neither symbolic nor gentle. Mehmed was expected to master religious knowledge, administrative skills, military command, and personal discipline. As a child, he showed signs of strong will and sharp intelligence, but also stubbornness, traits that would define his later reign. At the age of 11, Mehmed was sent to Amasya, one of the most important provincial capitals, to govern as a Sancak Bey, provincial governor. This was not exile but education through responsibility. Under the supervision of experienced tutors known as lalas, Mehmed learned how to administer justice, manage finances, command troops, and interact with local elites. His formal education was exceptionally broad. Mehmed studied the Quran, Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, theology, philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, history, and geography. He was also trained in military science, siege warfare, and strategy. Linguistically, he was extraordinary for his time. Mehmed became fluent in Ottoman Turkish, Arabic, and Persian, and he also learned Greek and Latin, languages that allowed him direct access to Byzantine and classical Roman texts. Among his teachers, two figures stood out. Molla Gürani was a strict scholar who instilled intellectual discipline and religious knowledge, sometimes through harsh methods. Akşemseddin, a mystic scholar and spiritual mentor, shaped Mehmed's religious worldview and strengthened his belief in destiny. From an early age, Mehmed became convinced that he was chosen to fulfill a prophetic tradition associated with the conquest of Constantinople, a belief that would guide his entire life. In 1444, Sultan Murad II made a dramatic decision. Exhausted by warfare and internal pressures, and having concluded peace with Hungary, he abdicated the throne in favor of his 12-year-old son. Mehmed II thus became sultan for the first time while still a child, ruling under the guidance of senior statesmen. This moment of transition was immediately tested. European powers, seeing opportunity in the accession of a child ruler, violated the Treaty of Edirne. A crusading army led by John Hunaydi marched into Ottoman territory, aiming to push the Ottomans out of Europe entirely. The young Mehmed showed unexpected resolve. When some officials urged Murad II to return and lead the army, Mehmed reportedly sent a famous message to his father. If Murad was the Sultan, he should retain and command the army. If Mehmed was the Sultan, he ordered Murad to do so. Murad II retained, took command, and decisively defeated the Crusader army at the Battle of Varna in November 1444. Although the victory preserved the empire, the episode exposed Mehmed's limitations. Internal revolts and elite resistance followed. and in 1446 Murad II formally reclaimed the throne. Mehmed was sent to Manisa, where he continued his education and gained practical experience. While some later chroniclers portrayed this period as humiliation, it was in reality a crucial phase in Mehmed's development. When Murad II died in 1451, Mehmed II ascended the throne for the second time, now 19 years old, experienced, and resolute. This time, there would be no regents and no shared authority. Mehmed immediately moved to assert full control over the state and to eliminate potential rivals. Unlike many rulers who pursued incremental expansion, Mehmed possessed a singular and audacious goal: the conquest of Constantinople and the transformation of the Ottoman state into a true empire. For Mehmed, Constantinople was not merely a strategic prize, it was the symbol of universal sovereignty. He began by neutralizing threats on all fronts. He renewed treaties with European powers to buy time, suppressed dissent in Anatolia, reorganized the army, and invested heavily in artillery. Most importantly, he prepared to isolate Constantinople completely. To control the Bosphorus, Mehmed ordered the construction of Rumelahizari, a massive fortress on the European side of the strait, directly opposite the older Anatolia Hizari. Built in a matter of months, the fortress allowed the Ottomans to cut off all maritime aid from the Black Sea to Constantinople. The city was now strategically strangled. In April 1453, Mehmed II launched the campaign that would define his legacy. Leading an army estimated between 80,000 and 200,000 soldiers, supported by a powerful fleet and unprecedented artillery, he laid siege to Constantinople. The city's defenses were legendary. The Theodosian walls had repelled countless attacks for over a millennium. Yet Mehmed brought new methods to an ancient battlefield. Massive cannons, including the famous Basilica cannon cast by the engineer Orban, pounded the walls day and night. Though slow and difficult to maintain, these weapons symbolized the arrival of a new age in warfare. When the Byzantine defenders blocked the Golden Horn with a massive chain, Mehmed executed one of the boldest maneuvers in military history. Ottoman ships were hauled overland on greased logs and launched into the Golden Horn behind the enemy lines. The psychological impact was devastating. After 57 days of relentless siege, the final assault began on the 29th of May, 1453. Ottoman forces breached the walls, and Emperor Constantine XI died fighting alongside his soldiers. Constantinople fell. Mehmed entered the city as its new ruler. Contrary to later myths, he quickly restored order, protected surviving civilians, and preserved key institutions. Standing in the ruins of the Great Palace, he reflected on the impermanence of power, quoting Persian poetry about fallen kings. Constantinople became Istanbul, the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. Following the conquest, Mehmed claimed the title Caesar-i-Rum, Caesar of Rome. This was not empty symbolism. Mehmed saw himself as the legitimate successor to the Roman emperors, ruling over a multi-ethnic, multi-religious empire. He reorganized the Orthodox Church by appointing Gennadius Scholarios as patriarch, granting religious autonomy in exchange for loyalty. This system evolved into the Ottoman millet system, a pragmatic structure that allowed religious communities to govern their own internal affairs while remaining under imperial authority. In the decades that followed, Mehmed expanded Ottoman rule across the Balkans and Anatolia. Serbia, Bosnia, the Morea, Trebizond, and key Aegean islands all fell under Ottoman control. He confronted Venice in a long naval war, strengthened the Ottoman fleet, and secured dominance in the eastern Mediterranean. In Anatolia, his victory over Uzun Hasan at the Battle of Otlukbeli in 1473 eliminated the last major rival power and completed the unification of Turkish lands under Ottoman rule. Equally important were Mehmed's reforms. He codified imperial law, Kanun, strengthened central authority, restructured land administration, and created a professional bureaucracy loyal to the Sultan. His policies on succession, including the legalization of fratricide, were harsh but aimed at preventing civil war. In 1481, Mehmed II set out once more at the head of his army, preparing for new campaigns that may have targeted Italy or Egypt. Near Maltese, outside Constantinople, he fell ill and died on the 3rd of May, 1481 at the age of 49. His death shocked the empire. In Europe, celebrations erupted, and in Venice the news spread with the words, La Grande Aquila è morta, the Great Eagle is dead. Within the Ottoman world, Mehmed II was remembered as the founder of empire. He transformed a regional state into a universal power, rebuilt Istanbul into an imperial capital, and created institutions that would endure for centuries. Mehmed the Conqueror did not merely take cities, he reshaped history. His legacy continues to echo between East and West, in stone and law, in memory and myth.